The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, welcome to the weekly Noyantis Usergroup meeting. Myself and John are your hosts, and today is the 30th of March 2020. As always, if you have any questions or queries, ideas, solutions, feel free to raise your hands and we'll open the mics and we'll get them attended to accordingly. Okay, so while we wait for questions, we will cover updates, obviously. For those who tuned in, I think most of you tuned in on Friday. Then we demonstrated some of the new upcoming calendar update. Now, I did want to get the release out by today, by this webinar. But to be honest, I was a little under the weather over the weekend. Didn't feel my best, so I didn't finish the items off. That's not to say the update will not go out. It will do. It's just it'll go out tomorrow. The good news for you is it's still going to contain basically what we spoke about. Is it worth? I don't know if you want me to quickly cover some of the things which will go in the update, which will be tomorrow. Show of hands if anyone's really interested in that. Pete, yeah. Pete's there first. Oh, yeah, okay. First off, the property grid. The link into property grid, the automatic link to property grid. I demonstrated this again on the Friday webinar, and basically the principle is you add a property grid extension to your app, which you would naturally do anyway. You can go to your window with the calendar on it, like so, and you add your property grid. And then from there, you're on the calendar extension, so you don't need to change any settings on the property grid. You can do if you wish, of course, but you don't have to. From there, all you really need to do is go to your calendar. And I did say one of the things I did say on the Friday webinar, I was going to tidy the third-party tab up, which I've done, and I started to add the extra options. So you would go to the calendar, navigate across to basically the third-party support, which is the common interface that we do with all of the templates. That's why I wanted it on there. So we have got you can link it to the suite controls and so on and so forth. You can link to the chart, and we can link to property grid. And on this one, we would want it to be linked to property grid. You tick that, select the property grid, and then these are the extra settings which I promised I would get added, and these are the ones which are going in. So this will be available to you tomorrow. So here's it working, and we can see as we navigate around our property grid, our calendar, the property grid is kept in sync and so on. So these are the actual categories. If you're familiar with a property grid, these are the categories. So date, time, event, reminder, attributes, if you will, and these are the items within the categories. So now just move that to one. I'll move it over there so you can relate. So now you will have the particular options. So you can set the wording of these. So you'll be able to say what the category name is for the date and time. So you can change that there. And do you want to actually include the all day element and the caption for it and so on. And there's various ones of these. So all of the different entities. Doesn't include the recurring, and it won't do in the build for tomorrow, but it will include everything else. One extra one, which is it's an in progress. It's virtually there. It won't be in tomorrow's. No, I take that back. It might be in tomorrow's. Is the link to the text message. So under the reminder section, you will have a reminder minutes before as a message been sent, but you'll also have the phone number that the reminder should go to. So yes, basically, they are the options. So should make it relatively simple. The extra options you will get is, do you want this to be in read-only mode? Now, of course, you can control that via the property grid. It's just one of the options on there. You tick it, and yes, it's read-only. But I probably will give you an option. I haven't decided, but I probably will give you an option actually on the calendar, so you can just have it here to say that they want it in read-only, and that way you are manipulating the property grid as well. If this was to change, this is the code I was supposed to do over the weekend. But if we were say let's highlight this event and change its color, for example, then of course that should repaint, which in turn would synchronize to the file, which means your file would be updated as well. So that the update part, which it looks like it's a lot of work, believe me, it isn't. I'm within touching distance of finishing that. So yeah. So that's just one element that will be in tomorrow's update. You can see how close it is there now, and if I did feel better over the weekend, you would have had it now, literally in your hands. What's Marty said? Appreciate that, Andy. Choose not to code while feeling delirious. Yes, I agree, Marty. That's probably my best thing. So Marty's actually got a couple of questions on regarding this. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to open up. Joe wants some help on the zero link, which we're going to cover as well, and Bill's got to ask. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to open Marty up first, and then Bill. So Marty, you're open.
Am I?
You are. Well, your microphone's open.
My microphone's open. All right. So, right, I perhaps either missed it on the Friday webinar or wasn't paying close enough attention, but that last little piece as you were going through the reminders for the property grid caught my attention, and it seemed that a reminder to a phone number would mean that it would allow reminders to be directly texted through SMS.
Oh, that's one of the other options which we discussed. So basically, I'll quickly run down the list.
So that would go through what the Chillcat.
It's going to use the Chillcat wrapper. Which I am very. Oh, so excuse me. I'm very paranoid. I do like our products to still remain totally self-sufficient. So if you only ever want to use a calendar, you only have to buy the calendar. You're not having to. And this isn't having a go at anybody else. It's just if a person's purchased one particular product, then that's what they want to use in my mind, and so on. So if you just want the calendar only, then you just use the calendar only. But if we want to link it to a property grid, as we're looking here now, or link it to the suite controls, which we saw for the pop-up reminders. I don't know if you saw that. I'll quickly cover it in a second. But if we want those integrations, then of course you will require the tools to get that integration. But it's not a necessity, is my point. They are purely optional. But yes, if you wanted it to automatically send your reminders, then it will have the capability to do it. So as and when they trigger, it will automatically send the text. It will prompt you for like within the template or within an optional field, if you will, basically a template of the text. So it will include tokens. So just imagine you've got an appointment. Let's bring this into here, and let's say that one's got a reminder. Green's a bit rubbish. Let's just say it was something about dental appointment. And it's with, and it will know it's a particular location because we have added the location. It's not on here, but you have got location in there now, and so on. So, and you've, it's really how you want to assign the person. I'll check my property grid to see how I assign the property of my calendar to see how I assign the actual patient details. But basically, imagine you've got a template and it's day. Andy Wilton, don't forget your dental appointment at 9 a.m. on the 30th, that kind of thing. So it will prompt you for, within the template, a field or a constant of a template of an SMS or a text message. And then when it comes to do the actual merge, it will merge the tokens with the relevant items out of your calendar. So the date and the time, if you've got location, the location, there'll be certain preset elements you'll be able to use, and it'll be clever enough to work them out and merge the tokens and send the text. That's the idea.
So the typical use case for this, I guess, is the question I'm thinking about. So this would be
Appointment
sending
reminders.
a text to a phone number that you've placed into, that was in the template, right?
Yeah. Basically, there's forget Clarion
So it would
template.
send you, it would essentially be sending you, because you've placed your, presumably this is your calendar, you've put it in the template.
No, let
So
me show you the type of intended use. So
right, because it would
imagine
really be, you'd want it to go to the person.
it would go to the person who it's so. Let's say, for example, I've got there you go. Put an appointment in here. Location, Huffwaite, patient. No, I'll put me. Okay, for a procedure, 30-minute. Okay, something like
Right.
that. Now let's say
Right.
that I had to send. Basically, we have. I haven't got the tokens in here, so I won't be able to show it you. But basically, the idea is we can set up tokens. Set up template messages, and in there, of course, you'd have some, dear and something along the lines of patient name.
Right.
Don't forget your, got to be able to type it correctly, your appointment on appointment date.
Appointment date. Right.
Along the lines of that. So it's this, you'll be able to obviously populate your own variable, if you will. It'll just be
Right.
literally nothing more than a string. I will give you what the predefined tokens are. And the intention is that when this needs to trigger a reminder, it will go off and fill in all those tokens. So it will be day, Wilton, comma Andy. This is a setting to control how you want them to display in this, but that's beside the point. Dear Wilton, comma Andy, don't forget your appointment on, and that's on a Sunday. What's the date? On the 29th at 9:05. And if you had a location, then you could do your location. If it's with, because you've got your schedules, then you could say with, and it could be Dr. such and such a body, or Mr. such and such a body, or
Right.
Mrs. But basically, you will have enough, via the tokens, you will have enough to be able to form a truly formatted reminder. What I'm trying to do is get it so you'll have the ability to put everything into the calendar to send out your reminders automatically.
So I get the idea that it can extract from the calendar data all of these and replace the tokens. The piece of the number to which the reminder gets sent, however, obviously would also be, but it's not that you want it contained in the text. Of course, you want that passed over to Chilcat because it's going to send the SMS to that piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
that wouldn't be something that wouldn't be something you'd want in the template, because it needs to be variable based on the, unless what you're putting in the template is a token and it gets replaced from the calendar data.
Yes, basically within the calendar group, you've got this insert event from group and so on. So within that group, you've got the reminder. What do you want a reminder? Yes or no? You've always had that. You've also got now the reminder is sent, because of course what you wouldn't want to do is have that reminder trigger and then trigger again and trigger again, and all of a sudden, they go out to the application, go back in again. It re-triggers, which of course it should do. Outlook would, so on and so forth. But you won't want to resend the text message, because one, you're running bills up, and two, that person's going to get annoyed if they get the text several times over. So what it will do is, once it's sent the text, it will write back to the calendar a hidden custom property, which the calendar has the capability to store. It will write back to the calendar the fact that the reminder has been sent via text message. That will in turn automatically trigger back to your file IO if you've got it linked to a table and so on and so forth, and it will write back to your record to say that it's been sent, thus not triggering it again. So you've got that. One of the other elements you will have in there will be your reminder phone number and reminder name. So this Wilton, Andy, or it could be Marty. So dear Marty. So you will have the capability to store these hidden information against each event.
But I guess the part that I'm just not quite picking up on is how the phone number for the staff person, because that's essentially the equivalent of the email address in this case for the SMS contact.
It is.
Where
So,
you're going to send it couldn't, you know, where and how it would replace that.
okay, so let me come across here. So we've got reminders. So you see how we've got the fields here. What's your reminder field, reminder sent field,
Right.
minutes before? Okay, there's 2 extra ones going on here, which will be reminder phone number and reminder name. And in the phone number, you would have maybe a joined in table to say what.
I see. So you're going to join in the user table or the staff table or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, or your patient table, your customer table,
Whatever, right?
your sales lead table, whatever, wherever that
Got it.
wherever that that reminder is going to. So I'm going to say patients here because it's a patient system. So it's going to link, bring in their name and their phone number. And
Right.
so basically all that information will actually be stored within the calendar. And so on.
So could you, because I know that text or SMS is really the default now, but obviously it's short. If it were longer, it would make sense to also allow email there as well, and you
Well,
choose
yes.
which one you want the reminder to go to.
Well, it will, and you know, sounding like this will sound really sarcastic, and it's not. We're sounding like Bob Z. It will do, yes, it's coming. But no, technically, you are correct, and that is the natural progression for it. But again, I'm going to send that. I'll give you the hook point, so you don't have to explicitly use the Chillcat stuff, although it's going to make it a lot easier for obvious reasons. So when the new Chillcat wrapper, the next version comes out, which includes the email bundle, the SMTP and IMAP and POP and so on, and basically a task class for those. When that comes out, then this will get a further update to say what's your email address, and there'll be the method of how it's going out.
Okay.
So it will
Great.
be a seamless link, but at the moment only the text part of it is done, so it makes sense to only cover the text part. But you are correct. Some people receiving emails. Some people prefer a good old phone call. Although of course, you know, there's a lot more work involved in the staff to administer those. But basically, wherever we can automate, the more the better. That's the idea behind it. But email will be coming, but it's just
The
needing
email
to
hook,
part.
of course, would allow people to utilize just going through, you know, either the existing SMTP or if they're using NetTalk or whatever, without
I'll make sure
necessarily.
we've got some hook points in there to make it to at least, well, you know, actually, just thinking aloud now, you could actually accomplish that now with the custom event triggering. Just don't pop up a window and send your own emails. So you could actually code it with the version of the calendar template what's out there at the moment.
Well, provided we have the hook in here for setting up
No,
the
you've
link.
got the reminders. You've got your custom reminder
Right.
handling.
Okay.
So what you want to do there is, okay, this is going to trigger. What do you want to do? Now, of course, it populates a queue of the events. It would be better with this version because you will have the extra information in there, like the name, you know, the reminder name. I'll tell you what I'll drop in for you now, and I'll make a quick note. I'll drop in the reminder email ready, just to make things easier for you. So as that triggers, at least you would have the email address and the name populated for you, should you want them.
Beautiful.
And so on. So yeah, so that's quite, let me just make a note there. Because these are going in. These will go in by tomorrow. Reminder name, phone, which you've just seen on the other thing, and email. Okie dokie. So there will be the entries for them should you want to use them. If you don't use them, obviously don't use them. So, but yeah, so that was. We digressed a little off the pop-up, which I think Bill's got the question, so I'm going to go back to that. But that is one of the this build, I touched upon it on Friday, saying this calendar really is going to be one of our biggest releases. Now we're having to split it into two because I don't want to hold it up any further. But even, you know, part A of it is still going to be quite large. So you're going to have the link to your property grid, the link to the Chart Pro, which I think is actually quite. I think if people start adding that, I think you'll actually find a lot of use out of it, and so on. The main one, obviously, as you've seen here, is the new view and file loaded. So for those who missed it, you're going to get the view and file loaded capability of the calendar in this next build. Pop-up reminders, I take it everyone saw those. No questions on those? Nope, don't think so. And of course, the date picker lookup, which was what spurred all this first update, and so on, and some other functional options like the equivalent of the browse no records button for a browse. You're going to have those for the calendar, which will come in really handy for us. For example, what's come about is we started adding in our software. We've got our title bar, as you can see, but then we've got basically these the record action items. So, for example, if I'm on a particular patient, bring up myself, and I can go, okay, I can right click, and we're all used to using that, but I didn't want to fill up this bar with lots of options. So they are here. And the plan is so that the user will be able to have just the icons, have the icons and the words, or they should, let me show it's on it, turn the bars on and off. So if they are more than familiar with using the right click, they'll be able to actually control this right click. But these are the equivalent of a browse no records button, a related record. Well, the calendar also has the same, which means the calendar is going to need the equivalent of the browse no records button, but it's the equivalent to the are you on an event, not on an event. So these enable and disable accordingly. So you're going to get that in that next build as well.
Can we ask you to show us your dashboard?
No, because it's not done yet.
Oh, okay. That's just a teaser.
That's an easy question, but yes, got a couple of ideas playing around with the dashboard. One I tried to implement, which would be absolutely awesome, but it's not quite doing as it's told. If it does do as it's told, I'll be more than happy to show it off, believe me, because it's really good. But at the moment, it's either my code talking to CodeJot not doing what it should, or CodeJot just not doing what it's, or my code just not doing what it should. But somewhere in the link, it's not working, and basically, I want it so the dashboard is a true dashboard, with all the different elements in it. Them elements can be charts or report controls or calendars or anything you like, and resizable and moving around and so on and so forth. So basically, it is your dashboard, and you paint it in whatever flavor you like. So, but getting the handle and assigning the handles to the particular items, the nodes as they are, seems to be throwing me a curveball at the moment. So watch this space. All I can say on that.
But that'll be great. It's always an area that's inspiring to see different approaches that people use for trying to visualize the data, and just something that I like to look in on, and I'm sure other people find inspiring and triggers all kinds of creativity. Oh
yeah, in truth, the dashboards are. I think they're a necessity nowadays. People really do expect them. And I mean, the idea of this is it's the landing page. So, depending on who you are, in your role in the organisation, the idea or the principle in ours is going to be, as you log in, you get your dashboard. So the practice manager will want to know, okay, what were the failed to attend like yesterday, and have we got any gaps on today? Do we need to be filling any opportunities, for today, that kind of thing? Right. Do we have any upcoming urgent events and so on? Of course, that's just a practice manager system. You could have it where it's a job management system, and if you've got your staff who's out of training certification and they need retraining, and there's a whole host, but the idea is one person logs in and they see the information that's pertinent to them.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's raised the bar actually for all of us, actually increased perhaps the expectation or the pressure to deliver, because I think that it has become the norm now, is that people would expect to be able to get their own dashboard, get their information on what do they need to pay attention to.
Yeah,
and
that's the general approach.
Bit of extra work.
So that's the approach, but it will be we're making use of the flowchart control of any of them, but it won't be a flowchart. We're using it nothing more as a picture, basically a placeholder for us to place place items onto it and move them around and resize accordingly. So by the book, we should be able to do all of that.
So more of a symbol representation than actual flowchart, but just being able to give you symbols that you
I'm
can
using
place.
it nothing more than a glorified glorified pinboard, if you will. So it'll be a white canvas where we can say, I need a report control up on the top left, and that report control will be a live report control, which I'll be able to data mine in and so on. I could have a chart to the right of that. I've painted a dashboard using docking paints. Brilliant, got exactly what I wanted. But if I take it to the next level, I can accomplish even more usability, and the visuals will look stunning on it. So it could be a chart, you double click on the chart on one bar of the chart and it goes into the data supporting that bar via a report control. You just change the node's handle. So that's where I'm going with it.
Wow. All right, that's enough. You're making us all start drooling.
Yeah, just can't get the bugger to work. I can get it. It's working in a docking pane. So worst case scenario, I'll release it in that mode. But knowing it's typical, isn't it? You know you can do something. That's going to be stunning.
Oh, yes.
But I know I can do more. So now I want.
That's for all of us, though. That's the man's reach must exceed his grasp, right? You can touch it, you can grab it.
So yes. Okay, so back to Bill. Just open, Marty. I'll leave the mic open. Just mute and unmute as you require. Yep, no problem. It's a kind of an open session as they always are. Bill, sorry about that. So you were saying about the. Sorry, let me come off this.
Oh, if you go back to that one, yes. If you right click on that dental appointment there, and you don't have it on there. But if you don't have a drag and drop on that.
In when we're dragging, sorry, I mean, yeah, of course I can move this around and so on, and the property grid is kept up to date as you would expect.
Oh, okay, good. So if you did a cut and a paste on it, it would do the same, right?
Ooh, cut and paste.
Because we used to cut and paste quite a bit, or at least some of my customers do, because they might have to move something out 2 weeks or whatever, and it's easier than dragging.
Yeah. Now, you make a really, I say it all the time, but you make a really, really good point there, because yes, in the other systems I've done, especially in the appointment book, then you would do cut and paste. I used to offer a cut, copy and paste, basically. And I've completely forgot to add it to schedule it, which is the application we're working on, and it's being used in a couple of places in beta form. And I've not added the cut, copy and paste, and it's a glaring omission because it's needed. So I'll see if I can add the cut, copy and paste. I don't know if it'll go in tomorrow, so I've got to admit.
No, that's okay. It wasn't something we'd be needing today or tomorrow or anything. It was just something I was thinking about when I saw it, that, does it do that?
Well, here's the thing. We, in the past, where we used to work with the much bigger dental stuff and so on, we did. Because, as you say, somebody might be, I need to move, cancel today's appointment. And of course, you want to try and retain them. So you say, okay, well, can we change that for you? It's, okay, yeah, well, I'm away for a couple of weeks now on vacation. So put me in for, say, the start of May. Well, no one's going to have that kind of scope open on the calendar at one go. So you're going to end up cutting, navigating to May, and then pasting, and so on. And that's exactly what we did. We allowed them to just do that. So yeah, you make a really good point. And of course, that will drop in line with the dependent buttons I was on about a minute ago, because the cut would only be enabled if you was on an appointment. The copy, again, if you're on an appointment, but the paste, you don't have to be on an appointment. You can just paste anywhere. So so I'll make sure it's compatible with those as well. If it's something easy for tomorrow, I will try and drop it in. I'm trying to think how I did it last time, and I don't think it was too hard. I just all I need to do is just really keep a track of the rec ID, and then all you're really doing is just changing the equivalent of, imagine if you will, it's 10 o'clock on the 1st.
Should be about the same, yeah.
I've done a cut there, if you will, and then I go over here and I paste, and all I really need to know is the record of that has gone from Wednesday the 1st until 30th, until Monday the 30th, if you will, and
Exactly.
the paste just switches it. So, and I think that's how I did it in the last offering. So I shall I'll need it for schedule it. So kind of consider it done, Bill.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you. Actually, can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, wow. Very good. So just to quickly wrap up on this, and then we'll get on to Joel's question on the zero. So that's obviously we've just seen, that's the property grid. We've quickly touched on the reminders part, which is, this was what I was referring to with the pop-up reminders. Now, of course, you add the global extension. You would go to the extension and add a pop-up control, because that's what we're going to make use of. And on our calendar, you would go to the third-party tab, because even though we have the calendar and we have the suite controls and we have the property grid and so on, from the calendar's point of view, we still consider them a third party. So that's why they're on the third party tab, because they're external to the calendar. But you would go to here, link to suite controls. The link is to the pop-up control, and that's the name of the class that was used. And from that, you would end up with, let's just watch your pop-up. No, I've got no data. Let's just drag some data across. Oh, there they are in the corner, we can see. There they are, just firing up now. Drag them to the Sunday. That was very obvious of me. There we go. But basically, there's the pop-ups, as you would expect. And via these links, you can jump straight to, you can dismiss the actual reminder, you can snooze it, and the template allows you to specify what that snooze period is. I think it's set to 5 minutes on this example, but you set yours to whatever you like. You can open, so it will call the update form associated with the event, and of course you can just close the pop-up. And Marty, what I was saying is, from the text, instead of those popping up, the text would just be triggered, and that text would then go out, and when it's got its acknowledgement, it would come back and update the file to say that's now been sent. But the reminders part, sorry, the pop-up part of the reminders, you've just seen in action, and that is in tomorrow's release. We've seen the file one, as in no more writing of code for loading of the events. You really just make use of a combination of, where are we? You make use of the new view/file. You have got the group structure as well, just in case you just want to be able to prime up your own groups, but like you do in the report control, you can just do it yourself, but it will take the group structure for you. But we're going to focus more on the file, so we can say what table, if we are using multi-schedule and the dates, we're using dates, these are the limiting factors. There is a little tip, and it does tell you the best key you want, because it basically loads the data in 2 passes, and for each pass it will loop through any active schedules. So even if you're not using multiple schedules, you still have an active schedule. It just happens to be blank. But from the internal point of view, the calendar will always require one schedule. If you should be able to physically see a day, you need a schedule. So even if you're not using multiple schedules, you kind of are. We create a default one for you behind the scenes. So basically, it will loop through all the schedules, and the first pass will load the non-recurring, the second pass will load the recurring. So it does make a suggestion. It's the kind of key I think you would need. First element of the key should be your schedule ID, so you can limit it. Even if, as I say, even if it's blank, then fine, have that as blank, but still have it as the first part of your key. Besides which, it future-proofs you, so it is important that. Second part would be, second item in your key would be the recurring indicator. So you've got equate set up for them, but essentially they are 0 and 1, or false and true if you will, but they are truly 0 and 1, which is non-recurring event and a recurring master event. And the last part is the date, and that makes sure that it can efficiently load. For the non-recurring, it's just going to load the events within the visible range. Let's just run this. So we're looking at the 30th to the 3rd, so it's only going to load from the 30th to the 3rd. And if for the recurring, it's going to have to start at the start of the file, because could potentially it could be potentially that it started right at the start and just run forevermore. So it's still a valid recurring event. So you would have that, but there is a field now for the recurring end date, should you use that kind of end method, because there's a few end methods you can specify. And if it detects that the end date is prior to the date you're looking at, it will just ignore it. So it is quite efficient like that as well. Yeah, so that's that particular change. And the last but not least was the chart. Now, as I mentioned the other day, if anybody's got any further ideas on the charting, so again, there's no code with this, and just make sure, because I'm not sure everybody got it from the other day, but the data loading now, as you can see, within the calendar, we all used to use the embed points data underscore insert event, delete event, update event, and now there's not. The only code what's required on this is the right click, and that is also going to go, because that's going to be in tomorrow's, where you can put the actions actually on the right click. So you can say within that action, I want to call a form, or I want to maybe hide a control, whatever, but you'll be able to put that code within the actions of the template. So really, you should get away from writing any code. On this, we have added a chart. We've not done any settings to it, we just added a chart to the screen, and the data and the type of it is all controlled off our third party Chart Pro, and it's these totals. You've got total events per day, events per hour, and events per week. Per day of week, sorry, so you can see when your peaks are. Wednesdays are always far busier than a Tuesday, that kind of thing. If anybody can think of any other permutations of that, then feel free to drop us a message, drop us a Skype, and we'll get them added to the control. So we can see there we'll see some couple at 9 o'clock, so you can see there the 9 o'clocks, whereas if I was to let's pull them there, so I can, okay, let's go pull that down to 12, and that's now gone to the 12, move it to 11, and that's changed to 11, pull that down to the 11, 11's gone to 2. So the data, point being is, the calendar will link to your chart, but it will take your recurring events into account, which if you're trying to do that chart via good old code, you would struggle. You won't be able to do it. So if you need to chart, use the built-in charting link, and that will take all of the events active in the calendar.
Andy, you mentioned doing it by days. It can also do, I'm sorry, I didn't see if it went further than that, weeks, for example?
Literally, I'm just adding the function. So if you say, oh, it'd be brilliant if we could see this, then drop us down the kind of the kind of criteria, and I'll just get it added. Things like that. There's just all the code, all the grunt code, if you will. The hard work has been done. So now it's just a part of a case statement and the analysis. So yeah, just let me know the types of information, but it will only report on what the calendar can actively see.
So what it's actively displaying, or what's in the date picker?
It's what it's displaying. So if you've loaded a bigger range, I mean, you might not be using date picker. You might be using. You don't even have to have. Here's just to take one step back. Let's say you had a report you wanted to do for the user, and they wanted an analysis per weeks of the year, that kind of thing. I don't know if that's what you was
Right.
maybe.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of planning of workload, for example, which we tend to think of in terms of weeks.
Right. Okay.
If you need to offload to another person because they've got so many projects or whatever during a week.
Got you. Okay. So taking that in mind, now of course you might want to visually see it on the calendar. You might not want to see the calendar at all. You might just want to see the chart. Fine.
True.
Hide this calendar. Have it as literally just one pixel in the corner, or in a hidden group for that matter. But have the calendar present. Load your data for whatever range you need. So call the data underscore load events. Pass it your particular range that you need. Have it go off and do its normal loading, which will, of course, include recurring events and, more importantly, exceptions to those recurring events, because that's, again, is another layer to take into account. It will load all the data as it naturally would do anyway, but then if it's linked to a calendar, a chart, it would automatically go and repaint that chart, meaning, yes, using the power of the calendar to do, applying all those recurring permutations and so on and so forth, and then you just basically just nicely seeing it pictorially. And of course, they might not want to see it at all. You might be using it as part of a report. So on the report window, you would have your calendar and your chart, both of them hidden. Nobody can see them. It goes off, it repaints, and at the end of the Sync to Chart Pro, which is a method in question, at the end of that, you have an embed point, and you just save the chart to an image and put it as part of your report.
Beautiful.
So you've got the calendar doing all the work for you, the chart giving you a very nice view of that data, but you're not even limited to seeing it on the screen. You just put it straight to a report, or straight to a temporary image, and put that on your report, and the user loves you, and you've done very little work for it, which is cracking. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Okie dokie. That kind of wraps that up. Any other questions on the calendar?
Back to the Chilcat send message, it just struck me that the kinds of things that I get on a text from usually it's medical, they will sometimes now reply yes to let us know that you're keeping the appointment. Now that we'd have to be using an actual service, right? A Twilio or something, if we wanted to be able to tell them
stuff. The Chilcat will be using. Sorry, this will be using the Chilcat. Our Chilcat wrapper, our text message task class, and so on. So we'll be using that. That will, as it stands now, will obviously send out with messages and inquire to the delivery status of those messages, as long as you've got the ID stored. So you could disconnect, reconnect later, and just inquire on the delivery status of a particular ID. So it's got the capabilities of doing all that as it stands now, as it ships. But, and you've got the exact same thing for schedule it. Remember, it's the golden rule: if I need it, it gets added. But yes, basically that's exactly what we need for schedule it, and we actually kind of need that realistically within the next couple of weeks. So watch this space, because it will be.
Cool.
It will be
preview of coming attractions.
Yeah, but it's literally. I mean, we schedule it week in, week out. But not only that, it's. I don't know what you guys think. We've got some user feedback. It's going to be text message, but you can actually have text to voice, where you actually get rather than a computer generated voice at the other side, you can have the it's what is a recording of a real person come out, but it's with basically your content. And I've played about with some of the providers I've looked at so far, and they seem pretty good and quite realistic. And you can even say what accent you want. So you can have it in a British accent, you can have it in an American accent, and so on and so forth. And that. So so for sending to a landline, and you can have that, not necessarily a landline, but have mobile. So basically, it's there's going to be that supported text to voice, as long as the provider you choose supports that particular thing. So yeah. But the returning of the replies, yes, we are going to address that, address it very, very shortly because we need it for Schedule 8.
Delightful.
So, cool.
Now we all just need a lot more time.
So do I. So, okay, so Joe's page. Wait, oh, hang on. Just one second before we do. Which version of Chilcat Library do I need? Okay, so Paul's just asked which version. 1 second, Paul, and I will get it across for you. The good thing with Chilcat, unless you've changed it, unlike Kojak, and I love Kojak because this is I'm just highlighting the difference, nothing more, nothing less. When you order the Kojak products, you actively choose between the Microsoft Foundation class or the ActiveX, and of course we all choose the ActiveX. With Chilcat, when you purchase it, you get, unless you've changed it, you get the lot. So you don't just get the ActiveX, you get everything. You get the C, you get, or you did do anyway, you should get the Apple iOS libraries. Yeah, basically you get everything. So you just buy one license and you get the lot. So yeah. So you should be covered. Check with them, Paul, but I'm 99.9% sure that is the case. So it was the last time I purchased, the very first time I purchased it, which was back in 2011, 2010, 2011, and I got all the C and the iOS libraries then, and so on. And I don't think that's changed since then. If anything, it's just getting stronger and stronger. So. Okay, so on to the Chilcat. Joe, let's open the mic. Oh, and Paul's just asked, which version is used for your wrapper? We just keep all of them, Paul. All versions. Let's open Paul's microphone before we quickly switch to Joe. Although, Joe, this will information for yourself, which will come in handy as well. Paul, mic's open if you...
Yeah, so I haven't actually installed it yet. This a little downtime, so I'm going to play with it. So you're saying I get every library installed, so your templates just know what to use?
Let me show you. Right, so basically, program, Chilcat, there we go. What did I get? There's version 80. Don't know if that's his latest. So basically the 950 and the build, and so on. So take a note of that, the 950 and build 80. So in here, looks like I've been doing some stripping out. Did I do it on the others? Tell you what, where's my download? Oh, no, I'm at home and the downloads are on the server at work. Right. Oh, crikey. I'm 99% sure you get them, Paul. Check with him, but basically, you get the lot. You get the ActiveXs, as you can see here. Oh, that is the ActiveX. But you do get the others. It's just on my machine. I leave the raw installers on the machine. Tell you what I'm going to do. Just going to go onto one of the machines. Just 1 second, because it's a question that's going to bug me, and I like to give the correct information wherever possible. Right. Let's have a look on here. Under there? No. That's not under there. What's it come under then? What's the X's? The old builds. Was that the installer? That would have been the installer. So what would I... don't necessarily want to run it on that machine, I'll be honest. Historically, like this really old build, that's the kind of thing you would expect. So you would get the .NET 4, the ActiveX, Android, C++, iOS. You can tell how old that is. But basically, these are the separate libraries you'll get. All you're interested in is just the one of them. That's when they used to be all separate. They are all just all contained in one DLL now, which is just what I demonstrated a minute ago. But you'll expect something like that from the install. You just want the ActiveX.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and then when you're using the application, we'll open the Chillcat because we're going to move straight onto that next. Then what you would do is choose the 950 and the build number and the hotfix if you will, but that's just keeping the naming convention with the rest of our products, but basically it's a build number. And that's all you would need. Obviously, don't forget to set your register to whatever you wanted and set your ActiveX license accordingly, that kind of thing. But you get all that in the information from Chillcat. Okie dokie. So, Joe, let's get to Joe. He's waiting really patiently. So, hi Joe, are you there?
Hello, how you doing?
Yes, fine, thank you. Thanks for the patience. Are you well?
Yeah, doing good, hanging in there.
Good, good. So, let's just close these off. And you was having problems with Zero, correct?
Correct. Now, you just showed that I need to set, that I may need to set the version number and stuff. So I'm going to look and make sure that's set right.
Okay, yep. I mean, as a good test, just to check your credentials, we'll try the credentials here. Well, I'll walk you through. Yeah, we'll walk through. So we would want to, I'll just go to here, and we want to go to developer.zero.com. Now, if you've got a link, so you've got an account with it, then great. If you haven't, you can actually do a get started and sign up for a free account and get a free demo company, and you can develop to your heart's content with that for as long as you like. So that's what I do. I used to have Zero and so on, but we switched to QuickBooks. Not for any particular reason, but we did. But basically, you would need that. Once you've got either your account or your free demo account, you go to My Apps. You log in, obviously. That's always a bonus.
It's OLVER, so it's basically Oliver but without the I.
So now I'm going to do a new app.
All right.
I'm going to say this is Joe Test. There you go, you're famous. It will want a URL. So I'm going to say Noyantis, and it does want that to be secure. It doesn't actually make use of it, which is interesting, but it does want a secure URL there because it's expecting your app to be a web app. We haven't got a privacy policy. We have, and we could set it to it. That's absolutely no problem. And then here, we would want to, and there's one I prepared earlier, we would want to tell it to go, we're going to bounce the information back to localhost on a port number. So I'm going to use port 3017 because I seem to always use that nowadays for OAuth redirects. But you could use any port you like.
And does this port need to be open or anything like that?
No, because this is a port. No, it doesn't need to be open.
Okay.
No, it's basically the way the OAuth 2 is going to work here is, well, I'll walk you through it. So just imagine that, just remember that 3017. So we've got localhost 3017.
All right.
Read the terms and conditions and accept. Now I'm just going to keep a note here. That's brilliant. So it's generated me a client ID. Really important that. So I'm going to take a copy of that. I'm going to just keep it on a notepad on the other screen. Then I generate a secret because you always go in pairs, an ID and a secret. So we generate our secret, take a copy of that, and there's one prepared earlier. And that's it. From Zero's point of view, we now have an application.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll save that. And what I will actually do is I will open up my Zero demo company.
Hello.
Okay.
Sorry about
So
that.
there's
I'm not sure what I did then.
I've got contacts,
I got a bit
customers.
preemptive.
Okay, so there's I've got some.
So,
All right, now
if
go
you
to
do
and I would use, just while you're getting used to this, I would use
804
the demo app.
0094.
Go into we want to sign in with OAuth 2, not OAuth 1. That's the old way. OAuth, you haven't got a choice now, but originally you could sign in with OAuth 1. Now you can't. If you create any new applications, you have to use 2. So we go with that.
Yeah, I don't think my demo app didn't have that second tab on it. So
Oh, you've definitely struggled.
That's probably part of my problem.
Oh, definitely. Because OAuth 1, you would have created your own certification file locally, uploaded the CER or the CRT, which one it is, but you'd upload the certificate to them. You would have, as you was creating your certification, you would have had a PFX and possibly a password protected PFX generated at the same time. And with OAuth 1, you would point it to the PFX file with the password, with your key and your secret. With 2, that goes away. It does mean that you have to pop up the OAuth 2 window every so often, but realistically, you probably get away with something like once a year, depending if you're running as a service or not. So, okay, so I'm going to clear these out.
Hello.
So we know that there's definitely nothing there. Now,
Really
I will paste in the key, and I will paste in the secret. Now, hopefully, well, to prove me wrong, we should get a connection. It's asking us to authorize, which it's not got a key, so this is where we would do. The organisation already connected to the maximum number of allowed uncertified apps. Is that right? Ooh.
Huh.
Oh, that's okay. That's no problem. Go back to my apps. Go back to my apps. No, I won't get rid of Postman. I actually do use that. That one can be deleted.
You need to go to ask your manager about stuff. Yeah. Well, I was only calling.
Okay. That's an old OAuth 1. That's mine. That's mine. You should be fine with that. So just let me try this again. So that will error out. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. So
let's try again. Connect.
They wanted Lynn to call them, and then they said, if I can't get hold of Lynn, what
organisation demo company, and it knows that who I am, because I've just logged in, of course. Allow the access.
She's on a call.
And you will get
so I'm going to pop her a message
now that is the Chillcat
before you finish today.
redirect. Yeah. Now what's happened there is we've gone to 0. With basically the application. Let's just talk you through what's actually happened. The application's got your details. You press connect. That then opens up your default browser in a certain mode to say, okay, go to this website and log me in, please, with OAuth 2. That's all. So it's gone off to 0. It knows what the endpoints are, passed it relevant information, but basically primed up the OAuth 2 object, if you will. And the last thing he does is say, okay, now go and ask 0 to log you in. And then it goes into basically a wait mode, waiting for the response from that website. And it's listening on localhost 3017. So it's never going external. So that we've just been in here. We've got authentication. Yes, it showed us an allowed screen on the Chillcat website, but that's only a default. I override that personally. I put them to, and it's just one of the properties in the class. You can override that and say what web page you wanted to go to on success and what web page you wanted to go to on failure. So you can fully personalize it to your own interface. But the main thing is, when that did grant access, it give the actual tokens, the access token and the refresh token, back to localhost 3017, which this was sat waiting for, so it's got them. And now they will be stored in a file, stored in memory, which I just write to an ini. Of course, in real life, I would write them to an ini, but I also encrypt them. But you've got the Chillcat library, so you could encrypt that string and write it to a file in 3 lines of code, 4 lines of code. So that can help you do that if you ever need to. So, and then you're good to go. Now, this example needs actually really padding out quite a lot. It's not really. It's not showing you all of what you should see. But basically, you have got the equivalent. Just let me show you on the QuickBooks. Imagine this is your 0. So for the approach to use the examples of QuickBooks for the type of approach. But what you've got, you see, that's OAuth 2, exactly the same procedures, and they all follow the same suit. But yes, what you have is you have download contacts in 0, and it will just download them into a predefined queue for you. You can manipulate that queue and push just one back up via an update command, and so on. We can do a whole session on this, just dedicated to this, but this will be your starting point. Yes, I've used the QuickBooks there just to show you the type of approach, and that's purely because that just needs the same examples adding to it, nothing more, nothing less.
Right. Okay, I think I see enough. Is there a version, so maybe I don't have the current version to get that second tab?
Then I'm surprised it's not there, but that's really an omission if I know. I'll tell you what we'll do then. There's some stuff in Chilcat, but the calendar's going out tomorrow, the ones we've just mentioned there. So I will update Chilcat tomorrow, so it's at least got that example app that you've got there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, Chilcat update. That's just a matter of copying in the latest classes, the ones which are releasable, obviously, and there's some fixes in there. Say, for example, we've got some classes, some changes here. So this is one you might want to do. NYS, one second, NYSCK task. Won't be a second, just looking for it. So some of the properties from 0. So what I was going to say there is you've got the URLs. Where did I put it? All these sizes, by the way, these the length of the keys being returned have all just been announced that they're being increased. So the new class will take care of that for you.
Okay.
And they are your HTML failure and success. So now they don't have to be, they're not necessarily, that's just HTML content. So they don't have to necessarily be a redirect to a website. They can just be basically some HTML content saying, congratulations, you're not even leaving, you're not going out to the external web for success or failure. You just put some nice HTML wording up.
Right. Okay.
So yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think that answers, or at least gives me a direction to try.
I will definitely explain why you would have had a problem with that. I mean, now what I'll probably do tomorrow before releasing that is I'll make that your first tab, because as you've just seen with 0, then you can let me just go into not there. Go into there. You can't actually create an OAuth 1 app anymore. They've banned it. And we'll actually get rid of that. That'll just throw me going forward. But yeah, so I'll probably I'll make that the default. But I'll leave the OAuth 1 in there because people might still have it and it's still supported for another year or so that I know of. But no, I would have the OAuth 2. I would have it running as a service. This was going to be some of the training, so I won't cover all of it because it's still going to be some of the training later in the year. But I will give you the heads up. Your better solution would be to have an app running as a service that that can make use of a token. So you've seen here that I can go out of that screen, go back in, and it can reconnect itself because that token is still valid until 1729. If I refresh, just want to prove me wrong, thank you.
I caught mine.
Oh, I've just deleted the app. What an idiot.
Oh.
Right. I can't believe I just did that. Okay, it's not going to refresh. But interesting is it still had the credentials to be able to connect previously. Okay, but what we wouldn't be able to do is refresh. But basically, you would call a refresh token. You've got to connect, and then you've got a refresh token method. And what I do in the service apps is I call a refresh probably every 50 odd minutes or something like that, but I forget what it is, just to make sure that the access token never expires.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the class.
Yeah. Well, the class. What we're going to do in the class is have a little self-contained app, which has got basically customers, suppliers, or vendors. So clients, vendors, general ledgers, currencies, tax rates, and some accounts receivable, accounts payable transactions, credit notes, and invoices. And basically, you'll have like a little self-contained mini app. And then, of course, what we do is say, okay, now we need to take that and we need to get it linked to Xero. And all QuickBooks don't really matter because, as I say, once you've learned these, and I will show you the code because it's important you get the idea. We use the QuickBooks, but the idea behind it is you would do your connection, which is just a method call of connect with the parameters. Just waiting for this. Now yours will be Xero and so on, but you'll have the connect. You pass it the particular parameter that it wants, and it gives you a true or false back. You would have a download. So I'm going to stick with that customer. Exactly the same. It happens to be called a contact in Xero, and QuickBooks call on customers. But same thing. But we can do a download all, which will you'll have download contacts. You pass it a queue, and even the queue has been predefined for you. So you define a local queue. That's that down there. You define a local queue, but its type definition is in the class. So there's no work to do there. And that structure actually matches the published structure from Xero, and the QuickBooks matches the QuickBooks, and so on and so forth. So basically, you define your queue like that; it will populate it for you. You would manipulate the queue via. Let's show you what I'd do on an update. On the update, I would re-download the single. So instead of download customers, I would download customer. So I'd do a single download. The reason you do that is it might be changed elsewhere. You've got a web interface on it and so on. So you re-download to make sure that make sure you've got the latest. And what you do is you pass it a group structure built upon the same structure as what we had a minute ago, but it's just going to populate one entity instead of a queue. And we pass it an ID of what it is we want to download. That'll give us the latest into our group. You manipulate the group. I've got a pop-up window. You might have an update form, whatever. You manipulate the group, and then you do an update. You push it back, the group, and an action, change record, and that's it. Or insert record if you needed to insert, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, send it over to me. Just send
it all looks so easy.
Genuinely, it is. It is. There is some work to do, and we like I say in the classes we're covering some of the pitfalls you've got to watch out for. The main things I would say, Xero works slightly, well, same principle. I could take any of these here. I'm going to go with QuickBooks because it's nice and easy to demonstrate. They just use numbers. Xero uses some dates and so on, and Google use some GUIDs and some EIDs, I think they call them. But basically, let's just jump back. I download a customer. There we go. And I'm going to take, got Noyantis customer somewhere. There you go. Noyantis. It's on revision, so it goes as a pair. You've got your ID, that will never change. It's assigned by QuickBooks. So when you upload, you wouldn't be necessarily priming up the ID. You do an insert, same methods I just mentioned a minute ago. You wouldn't do a download. You clear the group, populate your group, and do a update underscore customer or contact it as it is with 0 with the group with a comma insert record. That will give you a response back, and in the response it will say yes, true or false, and in your group it will have updated the group with the missing information, and it will be the ID and the token, or in 0 it's the ID and revision, and so on. So those two go as a pair. That never changes, the ID never changes, but the token does after every change. So if I was to change this, and I'll say, okay, there's a bug on this, that's why. Now I'm going to change it elsewhere. Let me go onto here. This is our sandbox company. I'll go and find Noyantis. Really? That's sandbox 2, weren't it? Oh, it's MYS, that's why. Yeah, okay. Let's change it here. I'm just going to change it to save. Thank you. Now, we go back to here. 6837. If I was to re-download that, you see now it's 6838. That's why you wouldn't re-download before going to a change. A bit like in your own multi-user system. You want to make sure you've got the latest record before you go and call the update form. Exactly the same thing.
Very cool.
So in your database design, allow to store two entities. One entity, which is the true ID of it, and that as a revision. And it will want both of those when you're going to push any updates or deletes up.
Okay.
So, and I probably have those. I mean, we're looking at QuickBooks and they're just numerical. MYOB use GUIDs. 0 use GUIDs and a combination of date times and stuff like that. So I would have those C string 51, C string 101, just to future-proof yourself.
Right. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I want to be able to post invoices into 0 from our home written system.
Well, I can't, because I work on someone's system quite a lot and so on, but that one system is talking to multiple different accounting systems all at the same time, and yeah, it's fine. It really is fine. There's I've learned some of the I won't say pitfalls, but some of the things you've got to watch out for. Like in 0, you go to create a new contact, so you upload it, and you forget to give the contact an email address. 0 will reject it. All of the data might look perfect, but if I haven't got an email address, it would fail it. But it would return you the message back to say exactly what's gone on. It would return you the message saying that email is a mandatory item. So it's informative. It's a bit geekish, of course, as you would expect it to be, but it just, you've got the JSON parser as part of the Chilcat. You could actually get to just the element you want and post up a nice message to the user within reason.
Right.
So, okay. Any other questions?
None that I can think of. I'm just going to give it a whirl and see what happens.
Okay, cool. Good luck. You'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you so much for walking through on all this.
Oh, no problem. I will get like I say, we've seen the calendar. I've got some tidy ups to do on the calendar to do with the property grid updating the calendar and the right click, the action buttons, that kind of thing. All of which it's a morning's work. It's maybe just over a morning's work. So calendar will be out tomorrow. Besides which you've seen it, so so that's the good thing. Calendar will be out tomorrow. Then I will push the Chilcat update. It might not be. There's definitely some updates in there. It's not the big groundbreaking one because I'm still going through some of the other classes for the next big update. so on. So
Okay.
yes. Just okay. Before we wrap up, because we are more or less done. Alan Scott, Schoolcraft, are you there? Just going to put you on the spot a second.
I am here.
You are. I don't know. This
Yes.
is kind of a message. You've just renewed, which thank you very much. But I don't know if you saw the message. I Skyped you a reply.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Well,
I was too busy concentrating on what you were saying here. I'm sure.
okay.
Here you are.
Well, basically,
Actually,
yeah, basically, the website, yeah, you'd overpaid by quite some amount. Because when I saw the amount, even I thought that weren't right. So I've just refunded the difference. Otherwise, it would be a rip-off. So no, so I've refunded the difference. So I didn't want you thinking our prices have just gone astronomical. It's a bug on the website to do with multi-user licenses. I need to correct that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Appreciate you finding it real quick too.
When it came through, it was like, he's bought what? So, no.
Andy, I don't care what they all say. You're okay.
Thank you very much. So,
right.
so that's back with you. So yeah. Okay, right. On that note, we shall wrap up and watch for the update tomorrow. A couple of updates tomorrow then. Watch for those, and until next week. And no doubt we will cover some more of these, and hopefully you'll be using new stuff. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.